Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today our subject is physics of class 9th and the chapter is chapter number 4. It's lecture number 2 and the topic is addition of forces, which is actually on page number 101 and 102 of your book. The date is 11 April 2020. So our today's topic of lecture number 2 is addition of forces. So first of all we will study what is addition of forces. So the method of adding numerous forces to get a single force is called addition of forces. It means that suppose we have an object, let us call a cart, and different forces are acting on that. Suppose 3 people are pulling that. So the net resultant of all the 3 forces can be added by different rules, and this addition of that 3 forces is we will study how can we add the 3 forces. The effect of these numerous forces will be equal to that single force called resultant force or net force. It means that as I have taken example of 3 people. So if they are exerting the force, one is 2 Newton, the other 3 and the third one is 4. So we will find how to add this 2 Newton, 3 Newton and 4 Newton force. So now forces are vectors and vectors can be added by 2 methods. The methods of addition of forces are actually 2. The 2 methods of addition of vectors are geometrical or graphical method. The first one is just a graphical method where we will use geometry and a graph. We can draw certain diagrams and through solving that diagram we will get the net force or the resultant force. And the second way or the second method is the mathematical or rectangular components, which we will study in the higher class. Here we will study only geometrical method because that is in your book, and the other one, mathematical or rectangular components, that is not a part of your book. So that is actually in first year part first of FSC. So we will study it later in the higher classes. First of all, what is geometrical or graphical method? So in this method we draw vector diagrams of the given forces. We have already studied about the vector diagrams in the previous lecture, lecture number 1, and then we add them by head to tail rule. In lecture number 3, the coming lecture, I will describe in detail what is head to tail rule and how we can add something by geometrical or graphical method. Here you should just remember these diagram and these words. Head to tail rule is actually adding the tail of first vector to the head of last vector to get a resultant vector. Suppose you have 3 vectors, vector 1, vector 2 and vector 3. So if you draw the resultant, you have to start from the tail of first and the head of the third.